Bonsoir.
Good evening, everyone.
J'espère que ça va bien avec tout le monde.
I hope everyone's okay. Welcome to our meeting of December 2nd. As always, I would like to mention that we are gathering at the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq, where the ancestors signed the Peace and Friendship Treaty with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum this evening, and are there any council members who would like to declare a conflict of interest on items on the agenda? Seeing no one, you have the agenda in front of you, so we need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jean-Maine Galland. Questions on, if not, all in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Next item 5, adoption of the minutes. We have the minutes of the special meeting held on October 7, 2024. So you had the opportunity to read it. I would need a motion to adopt the minutes. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. No, Joël was close. All in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Number 6, public presentation. We had none for this evening. Apparently, we were trying to have a presentation this evening, but and in term 7, reading of correspondence, we have no correspondence for this evening. Number 8, reports from standing and special committees. It's for your information purposes. You have the report from the police service. It's a quarterly report, so it's about 4 times a year. So it gives you an idea for the Shediac community and also the other communities in southeastern New Brunswick. Questions? Sylvie Colette Boudreau. Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think you spent like correspondence. I just have a quick question. So when we receive emails, is it maybe to the big council? Do we just, I'm not putting you on the spot, is it, I should have thought of it before, but send you an email, because I think we had something, might have been junk mail, because I don't know, like sometimes I'm afraid of opening some emails because they are spams, or I understand what you mean. Like if you get any emails and you think it should be brought to the attention of the council, just send them to the clerk. Thank you very much. Thank you. If it's a spam, well, I cannot answer. Like I do not encourage like to send the spam mail like to the clerk. Thank you very much. So policing services, so it's for your information. So we had the last times, like maybe compared to a long time ago, we are hearing, I think that's happening like for that requiring policing services, especially like 2 weekends ago. There's about 10 businesses where they experienced break and enter. It's something that's higher than usual, and not to say like like it's not happening throughout the year, but in one weekend it was a little bit more like than usual. And I know like the RCMP is aware. From I understood, like the RCMP arrested like a few of the individuals involved. So I did not get any more information on this one. So I'm waiting like to meet with the RCMP when time comes. And the sergeant was absent, and it was part the detachment. Well, it's like the team from like the anti-crime union that was involved. we should get more information later. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you will see, like to meet with CMP, like when you meet your CMP, could we first invite them, like we had them for a while. I'm not saying like to every meeting, but for a while they would come in. And I think it's been a while, like since we had an update, like from the RCMP. Certainly, I know they're aware of our meetings, but what we can make a specific request, maybe to say you could come to on a certain date, maybe. Thank you very much. Next item, we have no like building permit reports, but one of the things that I had started, like it was a mayor's report. I did it like last week, and I invited like the council members to present the report, and Councillor Rickroy, like
with regards to the Greater Shediac Sewerage Commission. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if it's necessary for me to read the report. Members of council have had it for a few days. But certainly, if there's anything there that you want to ask about, I'd be happy to try and answer it. I do want to explain, though, the situation with regard to the $75 annual fee that users of the sewer system, clients of the system pay. It's an environmental improvement fee, and it was implemented to fund the $8.5 million portion that the Sewage Commission is paying toward the upgrades for the Cap-Brûlé wastewater treatment facility. Mm-hmm. So the funding there is entirely Sewage Commission, the $8.5 million, federal government and provincial government. As I say, the users of the system, because it's a treatment facility, they are paying that $8.5 million. So the town, for those who are tuned in, doesn't pay anything toward that, which is fine. Yeah. It's not necessary, but I just wanted to make that statement. The other thing is that fee was introduced solely for that purpose, and generally speaking, the mandate of the Sewerage Commission is to collect and treat sewage, and the clients pay for the collection and treatment. We do not pay for new development, new sewer installations for new development. For 50-some years, that's never happened, and it's not within the mandate, as I say. Mm-hmm. And it's also, it would be inconsistent with accepted practices with regard to financing municipal infrastructure developments, in my view. So I just wanted to make that clarification with regard to that particular fee. And if there's anything else, I do want to stress too, I guess, that this information is all on the website of the Sewerage Commission. I would encourage anyone who wants to learn more to go there. There are various updates. I noticed this one's October, so we'll try and get something more current on the facility upgrades report there. I also want to mention to members of council, if anyone is interested in doing a site visit to see what's happening on site, that those arrangements can be made. There's not a lot there other than what you see now, which are the 40-foot deep holes full of rebar. Okay. I'm not sure if they did a pour of concrete last week or not, but if that has been done, that would be the most current development there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Would be interesting to get an idea, always nice to get an idea visually of what it looks like, Well,
not only that, but the general manager would make himself available to explain as well. So it's just not a matter of looking at what's on site, but he can clearly explain what the ultimate end product is going to be and how it's going to function and how it's going to be different from what's currently in place.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parfait. Donc, Conseiller McElroy.
Perfect. Councillor McElroy that presented his report, but was too late to include it. Like we already had published it, like the agenda 2 weeks ago. So that's why it was this evening. Number 9, DCAO report. So Mr. Leger. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report will be brief. Of course, the last few works were dedicated to prepare the budget, you adopted last week. Now that the budget has been adopted, we're trying to conclude this year and trying to finish the projects that we had committed to for 2024, but it's also a preparation for 2025, like to prepare like the request like for the borrowing board, like for the projects planned for 2025, either like for to hire a consultant following the adoption of the budget, but right away, like we are just finishing but starting the preparation for 2025. As from the strategic planning, you had an invitation for a meeting for the strategic planning. We'll have like a meeting soon, where the consultant will present the most recent version following the public consultation. It will be your opportunity like to share your comments, your visions, and also to hear like what the people shared. And it would have the goal like to bring like a final version like to adopt by the council like before the end of the year. Also, just quickly, like for the Main Street project, well, Main Street finally has been completed, and there's still like some lines, like it seems to be the conclusion of the project, but there are still a little bit of tweaking to do with the lights, and they're not completely all adjusted. But once it's adjusted, of course, the traffic flow and traffic pattern, it should be go more smoothly than the last couple of weeks. So this concludes my report. Thank you. Questions for the council members? If not, we'll go on. Councilor Peterborough. Okay, Councilor, yes, it's just to know like the update for the Bellevue Street. I know it's semi-open, but will it be done soon? I have no answer for this project, but Luc, I don't know if you could give like an update of this. Well, the final completion should be at the end of next week. If nothing changes, it should be by the end of next week, but we're hoping it should be by the end of next week, but chances are more like maybe like a week later. But at least like the most important stuff was done. Thank you. At least like during this week, they're forecasting sun. It's better than November for sure. So, number 10, recommendation from the Southeast Regional Service Commission, nothing for unfinished new business. Now, go 13, like inquiries by members of council. If you have any questions, anything? Seeing none, Councilor Bro, you want to say something? No? Councilor Jean-Claude Bertin, yes, you received did you receive the lights for the crosswalks? Will they be installed this week, Councilor Bertin? Yes. Thank you, Councilor Bertin. Yes. Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask a question there. So, if they received the I was wondering if they were going to install them. So, yes, we received them like last week, and they're supposed to on the schedule for next week. Nothing promised, but thank you.
Wow.
So, number 14. This is Deputy Mayor. So I look, I just press. Could we have a little bit more explanation on what Councilor Bertin was talking about? I had no idea what he was talking about, like for the crosswalks. Look, could you give us a background? It's a few months ago we received like a request from Councilor. I don't. To add like the yellow flashing beacons. So prepare a report by an consulted firm, and it was recommended. So the town ordered like 4 sets of those yellow beacon light to add to major crossing like in the downtown. It's already there, so it will be at that. I remember Councilor asked for this. So these are the same lights like you have at the LGR school and on corner of Sackville Street. Thank you.
Conseiller Janice Cormier.
Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Mr. I had asked, and I don't need any answer this evening. I had a few meetings back like to do like the verification like this for the sounds at the pedestrian crosswalks. If we could have an answer like,
Transmets ça à l'administration.
so I will forward this to the administration.
Je vais poser avant d'aller. Non, non.
We'll take a pause before.
Numéro
So,
14,
14,
des arrêtés. Nous
like
avons
bylaws, so we 14.1 like third reading,
10.
B 25-10.
Monsieur le greffier.
Mr. Clerk, can you give us some? This is for the budget for the downtown Shediac. So we proceeded with the first two readings in October and October 7th. So we need like a third reading for the same time with the budget. So we're going back like with the third reading for that one. So it's pretty much that's the information I could give you. I need like a motion
On fait la lecture.
to read it.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
14.1, troisième lecture.
For the third reading, B-25-10.
La troisième lecture
That
de
the
l'arrêté
bylaw number
numéro B
B-25-10 be read a third time by its title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. All in favor, saying aye.
Contre non.
Against nay, it's been carried. Mr. Clerk,
Arrêté numéro B.
the bylaw,
Un arrêté concernant le budget de
the bylaw like for the downtown Shediac Inc.
qu'il soit résolu qu'on accepte la
Be accepted that we accept the third reading of the bylaw B-25-10 by its title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Questions on the motion?
Non, tous en faveur, nous dirons
Not
oui.
all in favor, saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté. Merci.
It's been carried. Thank you.
Prochain arrêté.
The next bylaw would be the first of the reading.
24-18
It's 24-18 animal control. So we had the chance like to read it, to see it. Like there were some changes where just to broaden like the scope of this bylaw to include like the overall all the new boundaries of the municipality.
Monsieur le greffier voulait peut-être
So Mr. Clerk maybe wanted to,
S'il y avait quelque chose, vous voulez reprendre
if there was something you wanted to go through.
Oui, je peux,
In fact, yes, I could quickly. I could. So the only the major modification, some words were corrected, but really, like in terms of articles or items, it's item 2, like to the general disposition, where we really see like since general provisions, like I would say, was more like problematic if we cannot really impose like a certain number of dogs or cats like in territories where we're not covered previously. If we look at the former LSDs that we added, it's like a grandfathered clause, because if they already have 3 dogs, we cannot impose them what's imposed here in Shediac, like a limit of 2 dogs. Sometimes a little bit more than 2, but it depends on the situations. It's really like Article 2.2. It really says like 2.1 does not apply like to the new territories. The reason, well, it's just what I just said. So, other than this, like no other, were not really any modifications like on the on this bylaw. It's really the same bylaw. So I work very closely with the officer from Animal Control, Bill Grimmer, on this matter, and all those modifications like he deemed important were included, and everything was in writing document. So if you consulted the document, I'm sure you'll be able, if you have any questions, we'll try to answer them, of course.
J'aurais simplement besoin pour avoir un débat sur la
I
question.
would need like to debate. I just need someone to read to move it. Councillor Cormier. First reading bylaw number 24-18 animal control. That a bylaw entitled bylaw number B-24-18, a bylaw relating to animal control, be authorized, and that this bylaw be given a first reading by its title. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau.
Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Monsieur le greffier,
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
je comprends que
So I understand that
l'eau du grand-père,
like there's a grandfather clause, but
une clause grand-père pour 10 ans?
Is it like a grandfather clause like for 10 years, or is it for 20 or 52 years? That
Les chiens ou les chats vont mourir avec le temps.
because cats or dogs will eventually die. I'm not saying this like to be mad. It's like humans, like, and I'm wondering like if we have 10 cats, can we always have like 10 cats until we're not there anymore? So the question ultimately was, in the former LSDs, like the number of animals was never part of this bylaw. So it was difficult to impose like a rule. Essentially, like if the council would like to impose, like they have this power, but we thought it might go a little bit too far, a little bit too soon. So we made the recommendation that the bylaw remain as is, as the town like maybe for the amount of cats and dogs, but it would be consistent with the for the LSTs and the former LSTs. If I can add, on the side, like the regulations are still being imposed. Usually, like the dogs have to be registered, have a medal, and they need to have their vaccine. So there's still a way like to control and to know like the dogs that would be there. Eventually, if we think like it's a clause that could be added, I would ask to bring like an amendment so the LSTs be included. I agree with your approach, but we have to be more like homogeneous in the municipality, like to do that coherent to the municipality. So I just wanted to make sure we can do it, but maybe later if we wish to do so. And if I may add, like to be like coherent, there's some things that can be added that were not there before, like the vaccination, like the medals, all those things, like they were not really imposed like in the former LSCs, but there will be like a stronger bylaw, like to count the animals on the territory, but just a number of animal heads that was a little bit more complex. Like we wanted at least to recommend, like to give, to allow a little bit more time. Thank you. So, we'll move and seconded. Did you have a question? I thought you wanted to continue. No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see like for animal control, like we have sanctions and we broaden like the like the boundaries, like where the bylaw will take place. Do we have the resources? Because I'm always concerned, like when we have like an appendix saying like all the sanctions, and it concerns me because when we give those fines, do we have the resources to do it, or did we give fines like over the last couple of years, like for animal control? I cannot answer like the question for the last year, but we have a resource. We have a contract, a subcontract with Mr. Grimmer, and he's like following the provision in the bylaw and in our discussion, but was already doing some regulation with the other types of contracts he had. So he feels comfortable to continue to offer the services like to the overall territory. So I'm not saying like that we want to give some fines like to everyone, but when we have like Appendix B with the fines, like so just to make sure. Mr. Grimmer like was working with us, so it's complaints from people or communications like Mr. Grimmer or the town receives, like according to from citizens. It's often complaints to receive. So often this will feed the questions. There's not a control of that 100% that we go through. You said you had 2 dogs and you only have 2 dogs, but they have to be registered.
Donc,
So,
celui qu'on a, ça a fin des questions.
since it's the end of questions,
Première partie de la.
for the first parcel, for first reading,
On dit
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
contre non.
Against, nay.
Monsieur Greffier.
Mr.
Non,
Clerk.
adopté. Monsieur
Carried. Mr. Clerk,
Arrêté numéro 24-18.
a bylaw number 24-18, animal control.
Conseiller Jeunesse.
Councillor Janice, therefore be resolved that we accept like the first reading of bylaw number 24-18 by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Joël Després.
Tous en faveur, on dit non, oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre non.
Against, nay.
Adopté.
Carried.
Et conseiller combien vous êtes faveur?
Councillor Cormier would like to read the third reading, second reading. Second reading bylaw number 24-18 animal control. Therefore be resolved that the second reading of bylaw number 24-8 be a bylaw relating to animal control be read by its title. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by
Conseiller Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després.
Tous en faveur.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Épuisé. Tous en faveur, on dit non, oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
Carried.
Monsieur Greffier.
Mr. Clerk,
Numéro 24-18.
bylaw that 24-18 animal control bylaw. Therefore, be resolved that the second reading of bylaw number 24-18 by its title be adopted. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by
Conseiller Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després.
Tous en faveur, on dit non, oui.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre non.
Against, nay. Motion carried.
Numéro 14.4.
14.4, bylaw number 24-18 summary. Mr. Clerk, can you explain that? In fact, it's a provision that is possible like under the Local Governance Act that allows us like to have a summary of the article instead of reading it in its entirety, like the 18 pages we have for this bylaw. So at the next meeting, December 16, we would go back like with a summary that would present like the scope, and it would then that explains the changes that were brought like to this bylaw without reading it like integrally.
Monsieur Léger.
Mr. Léger, just to add like the provision for the Local Governance Act tells us we have to publish the bylaw, so it's available to the residents. It was published at least twice in a 14 days period. So this evening we will publish twice separately, like on our website, as prescribed in the Act. Thank you, Mr. CEO. So the measure that's allowed to facilitate things.
Conseiller Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després, will read it. 14.5 bylaw 24-18. There be resolved that the bylaw 2040 be read by way of summary instead of its entirety as permitted by section 15.3 of the Local Governance Act. I shall move.
Par le conseiller Joël
Moved by
Després.
Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Gala. Questions on the motion?
Sinon, tous en faveur, on dit non,
Not
oui.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre non.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Carried. Thank you.
Numéro 15.
15.
Les motions et résolutions.
We had motions and resolution. 15
Pour le
point
développement des collectivités du
is
Canada.
the Canada Community Building Fund. Mr. CEO, thank you. Good news. We received the funding, but our funding allowance for the Community Development Fund, it was a gas tax previously, and for a period of, for 5-year period, from 2024 to 2028, the municipality will receive an amount of $3,503,188, and it will spread over like a 5-year period. And one of the conditions like to receive this, to get this funding, we need like to submit like an expense plan, like how we will invest this amount. So the team, the written team, like met like to see which project we would like to do, and
évidemment, le conseil doit adopter le
And of
plan.
course, the council has to adopt the plan, and we have to submit it to the province. And once the province receives the plan, the province has to approve this plan
Avec le gouvernement
in
fédéral,
consultation with the federal government, and
qu'on peut entamer les travaux.
and then we can start the work. So the recommendation we're making this evening is put this whole sum like for the fire department. If you remember, like the fire station was built only like for by the taxpayers of the municipality.
And we're seeing that it's a good spot to invest that amount of money. Basically, it will reduce our debt rate with respect to that project. We're also presenting the debt profile that, as modified, if you do adopt the capital expenditure plan. And I'm sorry, I know that there are many pages within the debt profile that is included in your documents. But basically, the debt profile that we presented during the budget deliberations foresaw that in 2027, 2028, that the debt rate would be close to 16% or go a bit beyond. With this amount to be invested, it would adjust the debt rate for that same year. It would bring it down to 14.75%. So obviously, we'll save some money in terms of our debt rate. If you want to see that amount, it's on the second page of the document, 2025 budget debt profile. You'll see at the start, it talks about our investments, our existing borrowing. And if you go to the second page, a bit lower, you see debt servicing, there's a percentage, and it would see our debt rate in 2025, 8.5%, 2026, 13.74, 2027, 14.75, 2028, 14.19, 2029, 14.22, and 2030, 13.24. So we just need a resolution to adopt the proposed plan as it is, as you see it within your documents. Once adopted, it will allow us to submit to the province for their assessment. We were in constant consultations with the department, the local governance department. They manage the project for development for communities. They've regularly given us a thumbs up that our plan is in compliance, and that would be supported on their end, but we still have to take the necessary administrative steps. Great. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Listen, for any project, those amounts could be for which we'd apply those amounts. It'll help with our debt rate. The projects had to be eligible for that fund. And then the fire hall is a major project, and it could benefit from that financing. Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevalier, would you like to read it? I can, but I have a question after. I was finding the motion. The Canada Community Building Fund, be it resolved that the document entitled Town of Shediac 5-Year Capital Expenditure Plan for the Canada Community Building Fund 20 CCBF 2024 to 2028 be adopted. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Patricia Chevalier, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Any questions, Councillor Patricia? So that means that the full amount is going towards the fire hall. So we'll have spent it all. That's great. Thank you. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay for the whole bill, but Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. I find it's a good idea. Congratulations. Even better. Better than that fee for the fire hall, it would be better that it be paid by all taxpayers for the region. I think it's a project that everyone will benefit from financially as well. That's the part I forgot. But I'm hearing you when you're speaking. It's good that we didn't select a project that one part of our population would benefit from and the other not. So congratulations to staff for seeing that, seeing the larger picture for our municipality. Congratulations. So, with that, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. 15.2 policies, human resources policies. This is me, Mireille. So we had presented during the October meeting, actually. We presented the policies that we were seeking to adopt. Clearly, at that time, there was a policy, there was an amendment, but we were unable to share which one. But there are 5 policies that staff is seeking to adopt. 4 of them are new. Then these are new. We're looking at these are new policies that we're looking to adopt, and one would be to amend the one that we're amending. In your kit, you'll see that there are changes that are highlighted in the document. But if you have any questions with respect to any specific policy, Mireille and myself can certainly help and answer them. Great. Thank you very much. Mireille, could you provide a bit of a summary, one by one? Maybe absence from work. We can start with that. So two were actually modified, actually. Absence from work. These were amendments that were brought. So you can see in yellow what were the changes that were made. It was to make it more specific. There was a lot of elements. It led to some difficulties and some conflicts, actually, when employees would ask for a certain time off. Just to give you an example, employees who were sick, well, we couldn't impose a doctor's note. There wasn't a number of days, so we put after 3 days. We indicated that we wanted a doctor's note. In terms of appointments, we allocated 2 hours to the employees without having an impact on their vacation or sickness time. 3 hours was a bit too much, so we changed it to 2. And we also added in the last part 8, if employees who are absent due to sickness cannot do overtime. Let's say an employee has been sick all day, and if there's a call for overtime in the evening, they can't come in because technically they're sick. That has led to conflict in the past. That was what was changed in the policy. Any questions? Any questions on that? First of all, before taking questions, I need a motion to discuss it. Councilor Leonard Cormier, would you like to move it just to facilitate? I have to find it. 15.2.1. Councilor Patricia Brooke-Chevrolet is faster than me. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt policy 2024-06. Absence from work of the town of Shediac. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councilor Leonard Cormier, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau. Any questions, Councilor Cormier? Thank you, Your Worship. I saw that is this the one for the medical note? Yes. the date where the employee would have been assessed by the doctor. I wonder how it'll be interpreted when he receives an incomplete medical note. He can ask the employee to go back to the doctor to get some clarification. How do you determine that the document is incomplete if they're missing certain dates? If the doctor's note would say that the employees on leave for 30 days, but they needed to have the date of the first day and the date of the last date. It has to be precise dates. Okay, thank you. Councillor Joel Desprez, you have a question. Thank you, Worship. Mireille, Section 8 for the overtime. You're saying that if somebody's called in sick over the day and that they come in at night, let's say, to remove snow, other work that's needed? He can't. I get that. But is the reason? Are they paid time and a half? Assuming it's outside of the regular hours, you have to do 45 or 40 hours, and then it turns to double time. Even if they were to call in sick, they are paid the 8 hours. If they were to come in at night, they would be paid overtime. You've answered my question. Thank you very much. Councillor Jeunesse Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. Question on 5, medical appointments or appointments. It says in 2 hours for an appointment during work hours. Is that the entire appointment, or are there so many numbers, a dental appointment, etc.? It's all medical appointments. There's no limit. 1 month. Maybe all of your appointments are 1 month, and it's all just 1 month a year. They didn't put any limits. We don't really need. The employees do respect the 2 hours, and they do a great job at that. They don't abuse it. Councillor Roland Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. So this policy, is it in compliance with the collective agreement that we signed with the employees? Yes. Thank you. I'm not saying that you're not wrong. Has that policy been communicated to this union to make sure? I'm not saying that you're not wrong, that you're not right, but maybe they might think you're wrong. No, that's fine. When we amended the policies, it was the MC advisory. They help us with other human resources projects. They're lawyers, they're professional people in HR, and they said that it's an agreement with our collective agreement. I wouldn't want to accept a policy that might create issues coming up because of the interpretation of the collective agreement. It's a bit of a science, isn't it? Well, all of the we've taken all of the items in the collective agreement into consideration. So it should all be fine in terms of the collective agreement. We'll keep an eye on it. I would like to say that many of those things are very common within the province. I've seen them in my own duties elsewhere. On that, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. So, next one. Respectful workplace. This is a new policy. So basically, it's really, well, the objective of the policy is to have a respectful workplace and to have guidelines for the employees. And this policy is to recognize the roles and responsibilities of all employees. We all have different roles within the municipal hierarchy, and also to be in compliance with our ethical obligations and legal obligations at the town. The policy shall also play a role in terms of disciplinary action and the municipal code of conduct that you will see among the other policies. Thank
Vous
you.
avez la chance de faire la lecture.
So you had a chance to read it. I would need
On faire la lecture.
someone to read it.
Madame la maire suppléante.
Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Your Worship. 15.2.2, 2024-11, respectful workplace. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt policy 2024-11, respectful workplace of the town of Shediac. I so move, Your Worship.
Proposé par la maire
Moved
suppléante.
by Deputy Mayor Khalid Boudreau, seconded by
Cette politique.
Councillor Germaine Gallon. Any questions on this policy?
Sinon, tous en faveur, on dit
Otherwise, all those in favor shall say aye.
contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
T.
Motion carried.
Prochaine.
Next one,
2024 disciplinaire.
12, progressive discipline.
On dit, là, on passe à l'action.
Now we're moving to taking action. This one was modified with the help of MC advisories. We looked into what other municipalities had in terms of their disciplinary measures. There were 5 measures in the past, and we modified it down to 4. The first measure is discussion. We got rid of it. Any meeting related to employees, well, there'll be a discussion. We'll have a chance to hear them and see what the problem is ultimately. And also, we stipulated the guidelines, what each step means. And we also, the old policy was a bit confusing in terms of who had the responsibilities and how people should proceed. So we cleaned things up.
Merci.
Thank you.
C'est Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després, shall you read it? Yes, Your Worship. 2024-12 for progressive discipline. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt policy 2024-12 progressive discipline of the town of Shediac. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jeunesse Cormier. Any questions?
Voyons rien.
Not hearing any.
En faveur, on dit non.
All those in favor shall say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Prochain point.
Next one, 2024-13, Code of Conduct. This is a new policy, this Code of Conduct. It basically describes our expectations as regards the employees. It's in terms of behavior and our expectations. It's also related to the rest of the work we've done and the disciplinary measures. Great. So I would simply need someone to move this one. Councillor Germaine Gallon. Thank you, Your Worship. 2024-13 Code of Conduct. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt policy 2024-13 Code of Conduct of the town of Shediac. I so move. Moved by Councillor Germaine Gallon, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Any questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. And the last one, workplace accommodation. This policy is to support accommodation measures if our employees need it, that they might develop over the course of their career with us at the town of Shediac, that they either need office space or special technology tools, or might be a new employee who come in who might be blind. Well, how do we adapt the work based on any limits we might have? Great. I would simply need a motion to adopt it. Councillor Joël Després. 2024-14 workplace accommodation. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt policy 2024-14 workplace accommodation of the town of Shediac. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Gallon. Any questions? Councillor Roland Cormier. My question, well, it's a comment. I congratulate the staff for being proactive on this front. Not all employers have such a policy. They don't have a policy that's as good as this one. I really think this is great that the municipality is doing this. Congratulations to the staff for having presented this. I find it's a fantastic idea. Thank you. I have a small
En
question.
termes
In
des
terms of
obligations d'un
obligations
employeur
on the part of the
qui,
employer with
quelqu'un qui a
respect
été,
to
subi
someone
une blessure au
who has
travail,
been
qui
hurt
fait
on the
réclamation,
job and there's a
alors,
claim
tous
open,
ces mesures-là, parce que
does it meet all those
quand les
measures?
critères précisent certaines choses,
It is, it's a bit vague for some sections. Does it meet those objectives as well? Yes. We based ourselves with the help of WorkSafe New Brunswick. We built that policy in conjunction with them. Thank you very much.
Sur ce,
So,
tous en faveur,
with
en
that,
faveur,
all those in favor shall say aye.
contre non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried.
Prochain, 15.3.
Next,
Projet
15.3, Calder Street Project.
DG qui va.
Mr. CAO
Background.
will speak to this one. I will start, and if Luc needs to clarify something, he will correct me. We're basically seeking to hire a consultant for design work on the Calder Street project. We have approached many companies. We are seeking bids for that work. Two companies expressed an interest in providing a price, despite our efforts to have more than that. And the two companies who have submitted the bid, there is Englobe, consultants that we hire in certain projects, and EXP, another company that we hire to whom we regularly grant contracts. They were very competitive in terms of the price. It was very similar. But our recommendation is to go with the lowest bid, Englobe. That is staff's recommendation. Thank you, Mr. CAO. I would simply need a motion. Councillor Germaine Galland. Thank you, Your Worship. Calder Street Project. Therefore, be it resolved to award the engineering contract for the reconstruction of Calder Street to Englobe Corp. at a cost of $192,618.33, net HST included. The funds will be taken from account 1-28305, engineering fees for the following year. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Émile O'Brien. Any questions? Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes, thank you. It's a great project. I have a question. I'm not sure who to ask my question. Ask it to me. I see that the description of the project in terms of Englobe, there's something that jumps. It's really it worries me. Water main renewal. The last line: keep existing curb and sidewalk near mall area. Will there be a sidewalk on the reconstruction of Calder Street? Good question. If there isn't, I'd be very disappointed. There family crisis center there. There's stuff on Brown and Gallagher. There's a sidewalk for a stretch, but not the whole thing. Is that possible? Yeah. 200 meters. There'd be 200 meters missing of sidewalk. I don't have a precise answer, but I will try to answer. It was my impression that for this file required the least potential acquisitions to put in sidewalks until below there, but I don't want to make a mistake with you. But I was under the impression that there would be additions of sidewalk for Calder. I'm also under the same impression, but I'm not sure enough to be able to tell you. I'll have to come back to you on that one. We just opened up the file. Thank you, Luc. Given that we're just opening up the file, it would be the moment to speak of this to the engineers. At this time, it's to do the design for the engineering. If we're looking to add it, they could do it. Nothing is decided yet. There was a sidewalk there a long time ago when they repaved things. At the time, the council, they didn't have the vision that we seem to have around sidewalks. They just put pave and a white line. And It said to the citizens, when the town will rebuild the old streets, there will be a sidewalk. I don't know if I can trust the staff tonight that with this envelope that they will add the design of a sidewalk and it might increase the cost of their bid, or well, basically it's something, if they need to adjust the price a bit, they can do it. It's certainly possible. Can we make sure that the sidewalk will be in design? My recommendation is that there be an adjustment that could be done to the resolution, whereby it would be added that sidewalks be added to that section, and that'd be clarified. That would be the clearest way to do it for the staff. For tonight, I would say yes. So, Councillor Boudreau, would you like to make an amendment so that we stipulate that a sidewalk be added for the entirety of Calder Street? Is that clear enough? Moved by Councillor Paul Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. On the amendment only, it's basically making sure that there are sidewalks when the street is rebuilt, as we have done for several streets. Thank you. All those in favor shall say aye. You had a question. My apologies. On the amendment? I said I had things. Any questions on the amendment? Thank you, Your Worship. I thought, maybe I'm wrong, that there was a plan for some streets. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be sidewalks on that street, but I thought that there was a municipal plan where some streets could have sidewalks and some wouldn't have them. We know that up top of Main Street, the new streets where there are new builds, they're not designed for sidewalks. Is this one, given that it's so old, is the width sufficient for sidewalks? That's my question. I don't have a problem that there be sidewalks if it matches with the street plan. I know that we had a discussion with the operations department, municipal operations department. At the time, we wanted to make sure that if there were sidewalks to be added, I do remember we had a discussion that street reconstruction was less complicated than other streets. It didn't require that we acquire certain pieces of land. It was rather minimal. It was more clean cut, and that we could build it to the standard. But obviously, if the resolution is passed with the amendment and it's included in the price, there's no question we would go forward with the design, which would include a sidewalk. Let's say that the sidewalks are not included. We can't grant the contract, so we'd have to come back to the council if there is a modification to the contract. So you'd be made aware. Yeah, you just want to know. My question is, my basic question is, if we grant sidewalks there, but it's not in the sidewalk plan, and we say no to Hamilton Street and etc. I'd like to know, is there a sidewalk that's in the plan? Just say yes willy-nilly like that. I don't know how to phrase that. Street reconstruction are done to our standards, which will include sidewalks. So all new street reconstructions that we have to do will include sidewalks. What I'm trying to say is that Calder Street is less complicated since we don't have to buy certain portions of land. We don't need to shorten things. So, as of now, to make sure that they are included in that price and to clarify the questions of sidewalks,
we'll make
sure that the sidewalks are involved in that bid for Calder Street. We were in the impression, I mean by that I mean staff, that this project would have a sidewalk added on Calder Street. Okay, thank you. And if the council so wishes, we could perhaps do a revision in terms of which streets are supposed to have sidewalks. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not there, and which streets are not supposed to have sidewalks. It might be a cul-de-sac with 3 houses. You don't want a sidewalk. That would not figure on the list. We establish the categories in which these streets fall. On the amendment, Councillor Cormier, Your Worship, I'm going to try myself out here. During the budget deliberations, Councillor Bro was raising some questions about budgets related to sidewalks. And during the budget deliberations, the answer that was given to Councillor Bro, if there was a 5-year plan, I think that's what you were calling it, that wasn't yet done. Yes, indeed. And Councillor Bro backed down. He was respectful of your answer, saying you were saying that we hadn't finished our sidewalk plan. That's what I had understood. At any rate, maybe I misunderstood. If I've misunderstood, someone will correct me. I think that Councillor Boudreau is perhaps asking the same thing in a different way. And I agree to put on sidewalks on the Calder if the plan says that we should have some. But I might not be in agreement in doing it if the plan tells us that we shouldn't do it on Calder Street and that we should be doing it on, and it will come from staff. It won't come from us. Let's say it's Hamilton where we should be doing it and not Calder. Well, then we need some direction from our professional staff. So here's what we recommend. And I don't think you've answered that question. So I'll give you a chance to try again.
Alors, pour répondre à ta question, les standards municipaux et les nouvelles constructions de rues ou reconstructions de rues existantes.
The reconstructions of existing, the standard should include sidewalks. It might mean that we need to acquire some land. We might need to readjust just the street line to accommodate that question. For Calder Street, specifically, there's already sidewalks in a certain section that are not part of this project. They're already in good condition. So the section that I'm assuming in front of the downtown is not being remade. That was the language that's included in the tender package. So that there be an addition of that section going down to the street. There'll be new sidewalks
that will be added in existing projects. Thank you for the clarification. So my question is, again, will your plan, your 5-year plan, so when you present it as this addition for those sidewalks that do not exist yet on Calder Street? And if the answer is yes, yes. But if the answer is no, that's another thing. But there's already some sidewalks there. So is it on this plan? So to add, I don't. I just want to know. Like, this plan hasn't been finalized yet. So we answered during the budget discussion deliberation to Councillor Bro that because it seems for started the budgets were not high enough for sidewalks, but I kind of agreed with it. And we said that you answered we're hoping to get the plan. If I can make a little nuance, but the Councillor Bro was asking, it was for new sidewalks. It is to add the sidewalk to street where they're non-existent. There's already a sidewalk on Calder Street, at least for a section of it. And according council, they were even more like at the time. And the town removed it, saying like because they were in such a bad state. So the space is there, so it should be done in theory.
I stand to be corrected.
It is sent to be corrected, but if the staff recommend like to go, but I did not hear like the staff to see. I did not understand. Like I was trying to, the staff was recommended like to do a project and to forward the project. But I would like to add, like when we talk about the transportation master plan, we're working on this one, and they will still give us a recommendation that where we should put those new sidewalks, what type of investment we have to make, like in the different municipal infrastructures, like for transportation, in active transportation, recreation transportation, automobile transportation. We did not receive this report, but this report will guide us like in the development of this modify or review the plan. But for now, I cannot confirm exactly, but that was under the impression that this project would have like we see an addition of sidewalk for the section that doesn't have any, but any road bridge construction will be like up to the new municipal specs we adopted. And it will include the sidewalk. If the resolution is adopted, it will make sure like some sidewalks are added to this section. Questions on the amendment. So, Janice Cormier. So it means because it's a reconstruction of this the street, that's why like they will add sidewalks. It's not to replace the sidewalk. So any like reconstruction of road existing, we have to build like sidewalks or construction. Like if we're not responsible. Or for a new subdivision. Mr. Migro, anything else would like to ask? So yes, Mrs. Director, I mentioned in like, so the Calder Street is part of the list of capital projects we will do in 2025. So we had mentioned like for the 5-year plan, it has to starting to be done. So we will create in 2025. So we cannot include Calder Street because this project will already be ongoing. I'm repeating what was said. Any new road construction like the sidewalks are included. Thank you very much. So, questions on the amendment? Councillor Patrick-Bourgeois, I think it's the amendment or the 5-year plan. So the amendment is only like to ensure for the sidewalks. No, it was on the 5-year plan, so I will go back. So we will vote on the amendment. On the amendment. All in favor saying aye. Against nay. It's been carried. On the initial amended motion is to give a contract to Englobe. Question. I think like the finance director answered the question, but I will just try another way. It seems to say that the $192,000 will be expenses for 2025. Is there a possibility we could take it as an expense? Because we have an addition like for 2024, because if we have some money left in the budget, I just if there's some wiggle room in the budget, so it will be complicated because the contract would be awarded and its term payment we will be doing. We'll see like at the next meeting, we'll make some recommendation to transfer some money to the reserve fund. So if there are some funds 2025, we will look at maximizing the budget and the operating reserve. If during like the year 2025 we want to do it, it's something that we could do, but we still have to do this transfer because by the time we get the money, it will not be done in 2024. So if not, the surplus is there for 2 years. On the amended motion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Councillor Peterborough, any questions? I went too fast. So with the amendment, like if Englobe decides to increase the amount, does it have to go back to the design? Yes, it will cancel like this motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against nay. It's been carried. 15.5 unpaid water bills. A motion like made by a notice of motion like done by Councillor Cormier for the last budget meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas for several years, the town of Shediac has been faced with a growing number of outstanding accounts in the water utility operating fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipal council mandate the administration to implement new measures to ensure better administration of the water utility operating fund. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor McElroy. Mr. Cormier, I can give you a little bit of background. So, Mr. Mayor, it's just like since my arrival in the council, like it's been close to 2 years, regularly we say, sorry, there are some citizens who are not paying like the water bill and there are in arrears. And since my arrival, we never get like any report to see like we are collecting them. As during the budget process 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that the debt to ratio for this water company would start to grow, and we have opportunities like to get some money from the citizens who are not paying their water bill. It's not fair, like for the citizens who are paying, and those who are not paying and do not pay, and there's no repercussion. There's a municipal bylaw that is quite fair, and I think it's time for the administration, like that we mandate the administration to look at in this file and make the corrections required. And to bring some reports like every month. Like the bylaw is clear, like you have like the strength like to solve some problem with the bylaw, in my opinion. But if we need like some modifications to the policy, we can go back to it. So that's why, Mr. Mayor, I'm bringing this to the council. Thank you, Councillor Cormier, for the clarification. Mr. CAO, if I understand that my motion would be to implement like this motion in the bylaws, and if we get some recommendation to make some adjustment to this collection, that we go back to the council. Exactly, Mr. Mayor. On this note, questions? It's moved and seconded. Councillor, question? I have a question. If the house is sold and the water and sewer service, if I inherit this house from the parents, the house only change name, does it still apply? Yes, the water bill belongs to the property and now to a specific owner. If there's existing property and this hasn't been sold, it's only transferred. So they have to come in and change it. If you inherit like the property and there is a bill, well, you also inherit the bill. Thank you.
Conseiller O'Brien, question.
Councilor Middlebury, do you have any questions?
On a-t-il une montante
Do we have an amount
condos qui sont en souffrance? Y a-t-il un
for
montant
those
qui n'est pas payé? Ou
for global amount? Like,
c'est-tu 1 000 piastres? C'est-tu 100 000 piastres?
is it 7,000, 100? It's more than the two amounts you mentioned.
OK, c'est parce que ça.
What's the amount? I do not have the.
Presque 10 fois plus que le dernier.
It's almost 10
OK.
times more than what you mentioned.
C'est bon.
Bonne idée.
Ça va l'année, ouais.
Puis écoute, en sortant, quand tu regardes, puis
Listen, like when you go, because I asked, like knowing this resolution, like,
j'ai demandé à l'équipe de finances.
and I asked like the finance team, like,
il y a beaucoup de ces.
there are a lot of this money, like it's with unpaid interest, and I would say like the majority of this amount is for fees, like for unpaid like interest fee, because it seems
que d'autres. Alors,
it's more than another, and of course we will load the disposition just to look at so that these bills are paid as prescribed in the bylaw, and if the resolution is adopted, so it would. So we'd be able to recuperate those amounts. Like if it's impossible or we can't, and some offers were made, we would have to bring it to the council because we wouldn't have the option to take this decision. Thank you. It answered my question. Thank you.
Question, conseiller Peterborough.
Councilor Peterborough, yes, so do we? Did we stop to ask to charge interest on interest? It's a question that was asked a couple of years ago, and I think there was a motion to this that we should stop to charge interest on top of the interest. I'm not 100% because we changed it. It's in the bylaw as such. You would have needed to change like the bylaw. Like I don't recall like making changes like just to change. So we're charging interest on top of interest. That's why I'm mentioning like the amount is very high.
Donc, le conseiller Cormier disait
Councilor Cormier, it's been for 2 years. So the finance secretary, she hasn't been here for 2 years. So. It's one of the things that will come. And I have to admit, during the process, there are some disposition we have for our capacity, like to for this collection, and some of them, well, it's not nice to enforce like to shut off the water eventually, but if it's in the bylaw, it's in the disposition, and if it's the desire of the council, we will implement those disposition of the bylaw. We'll do whatever we can like to recover these amounts. Councilor, will we be able like to get to get the amount, like the interest amount, because eventually we have to eliminate this one, like it's a deficit the city will have, the town will have. What is the amount for the interest? I don't think I'm under the impression you will not be able to recuperate all that money, and I see will be maybe recuperate this. Some will be difficult because these are bigger amounts. But I would say like the majority, the category is not only like in this amount. So I anticipate that they might go case by case. We'll have to bring it to the council. Let's say we have an offer trying to solve this one.
Si le conseil décide de prendre les mesures,
and if the council decides to take the measures, well, the council would be responsible. If the administration, like, while reviewing it, they find any means, like, to ways to make things progress on things to reduce the arrears, so maybe we would like to modify the bylaw, but it will come to the council. We'll let them enough time like to do their work. Councillor Janice Cormier, questions, Mr. Mayor? Thank you. Do we use like collection agencies to help us, or it's all like the duty of the town? Like, of course, there are some dispositions we have to follow, like according to the bylaw, to give some advice and. before we can go, but we will use everything at our disposal to, in the powers we have for the bylaw, trying to get to recuperate those sums. So I chose an example. So when we put like the fines, how many times like we stop like we turn off the water like because in the bylaw, if you have a bylaw and you don't enforce it, I can swear like the last 12 years, zero. It's not something like the council decides. I'm not saying during winter, but you have a bylaw, you have. It's difficult to enforce a bylaw if people know they will never lose a service. I understand like the why. I understand like the dynamic you're living in, but if we do not have the tools to recuperate these amounts of money, we cannot do our job. Yes, there is a bylaw. If this resolution is adopted, we'll do everything we can like to recuperate this money and use the tools at our disposal. And the other thing, there was a case on drinking water provided by a neighboring municipality, and it was cut. It went even to the Supreme Court, and the municipality lost. It was for development. It was not for an individual resident. So there are some restrictions, some things the municipality can do and some they can't do. Councillor Cormier. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, to Mr. Burrow's question. So we'll use also the interest at the same time to trying to change it. I could say like can tell you the cases, problematic cases, we'll have to do something because it will be difficult like to solve those cases. And you have to give us enough time to assess and study the cases one by one, and then we'll come back to the council with recommendations for the ones we have a hard time like getting our money back. So, moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by Councillor Michael Moore. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against nay. Carried. 50.5 Urban Planning Services. It's a motion given last week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, the town of Shediac uses the planning services of Plan 360 through the Southeast Regional Services Commission, SERSC, whereas the town of Shediac is the fastest growing municipality within the SERSC, requiring increased planning services.
Et que cela nécessite de services accrus en termes de planification que l'administration.
Therefore, be it resolved that administration be mandated by the municipal council to evaluate the possibility of implementing its own planning service in partnership with other municipalities or on a standalone basis.
Je le propose, monsieur.
I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by
Councillor Harry McEnroy. Question. Je te permets un petit peu.
Questions? To give a little bit of background. So for the last 2 years, I noticed that the cost of the planning service is increasing. And we do not, in my opinion, we do not have more services. We are one of the municipalities that is paying like the big part of the planning service. I see like a gatekeeper of the municipality by saying, as a municipal council, we need to look at if there are some more efficient way to give the same service for a lower cost.
j'ai pas la réponse de savoir si
And I have no answer, like knowing
le même service à moins
if we could get give the same service at a lower cost or maybe a better service at a higher cost. And it would be, of course, the municipal council would decide. Just in the news last weekend, the same concern with the municipality of Tracadie, the mayor publicly on Radio Canada was questioning the cost. But I do not want to be compare ourselves to Tracadie. I just want to give a mandate to the administration to look at this seriously and to get back, and not to get back in 2 months, and to get back when we come back with an analysis that would say we'll look into this and we think it's a good idea. Here is why. We look into this and it's not a good idea, and these are the reasons why it's not a good idea. So I just want to know if we have the best bang for our buck, and if it's the case, we continue. If it's not the case, the municipal council will have when they will have a decision to make. And even we could go back a suggestion to go one way or the other, the municipal council is certainly the main decision maker for the citizen of the town of Shediac until 2026. Mid 2026. So that's why I'm mentioning here.
Moi, je pense qu'il est temps de.
So that's why I think it's time to look into this, and we'll wait for the assessment. So thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. So I will just mention before I open the discussion. Councillor Cormier is asking, how much does it cost? It's a simple question. We do not have this answer for now. If ever the councillor decides, following those information, to have something else with the plan for 360, we have to give 2-year notice to be able to get out. It's not a month, it's not a week, it's 2 years. And it's something that is serious. And to put this service in place, it's not something that takes 2 weeks. It takes it gives enough time to implement this, and it's a time for reflection, and it's also a time to gather the information to make the right decision. Councillor Janice Cormier, any question? You allow me to give a comment. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Totally agree, with Councillor Cormier. The last time, we discussed, the plan, municipal plan with the Plan 360 that wanted to get some resources to help us to complete our municipal plan. They sang us a good song and we never heard anything else. And it's great, if it needs 2 years, but I think it's time we do some assessments to make sure we have the service for our time and with a good cost. Thank you, Councillor Cormier, to put this back on the table. And one Councillor Cormier to another. The other thing I would like to mention, Councillor Cormier, the first part for the municipal plan review, these are the studies are being done, so we will not have a discussion or public consultation. We need first to get the subject first, and either the planners or them or people else, someone else, it would be a process. This process it's not a short process by any means. Do we get any updates?
Ça va prendre au-delà d'un an.
It would take like more than over 1 year. Councillor Paul Boudreau. So my concern, like when we mandate the administration, it's a big task. I don't know if the administration has the capacity or time like to do this study. So we see like the consultant, I see like Sylvain is nodding. So if the consultant, how much will it cost? And that's where it's great what you want to do, like Roland, but I just want to make sure, like if it's a major task we're asking for, it's almost like to redo like the economic development plan. We want. It's a big staff, and they're busy. You see, like the reports, like we get around the table. Just my opinion, I will support the motion, but I would like eventually, like, to have an answer for administration saying, "Oh, we have to go higher than this one." So, this is my opinion. I can answer it right now, and of course, do we have enough time? I would say, well, if the council, if it's a priority, and they want us to make, we'll find the time to do it. But I would say the aspect that's missing is the expertise. So I have no idea, like, what, how much a planner costs, how much the qualification you need. But we need to do an analysis, like, essentially, if I understand well, like council is just like to assess what we're paying versus if we do it by ourselves in partnership with other municipalities. What would we need? Do we need like a planner? Do we need an inspector? Do we need like a subdivision director? I don't know. Like. Yes, of course. If the motion goes through, like. We'll go to the council to hire a consultant, and that might be more specialized, like in land use planning. What would we need as a municipality, like to offer the service equally, or maybe even superior than what we're having today. So it will go back like to the council. If we do not like the bill of the consultant, well, we'll say, well, never mind. It's a discussion for later. For looking for the information, we need to go to look for the expertise. Thank you. Will it be like a separate commission as the sewers commission, or there would be a town? No, they would be employed by the town. Like if the municipality would like to get rid of the plan 360 services, those planners who are giving those services. Those planning services will they would be like employees like within the town. So we have to follow the provisions on the planning act, create an advisory committee, prepare the plans, send the notices. Instead of being employees from Plan 360 will be from such as the one for the town of Yet or Moncton. With the same way, like we have like a PRAC committee, we would have our own PRAC committee, etc. I just want to add, I think the analysis that has to be done cannot only do like the salaries and the amount of employees. We need to have startup costs like for computers, printers, office supplies, offices, etc. But also the ongoing, like for the infrastructure that requires to support this infrastructure.
Thank you. Councillor Joël Després, thank you, Your Worship. You've answered my question. Moncton Dieppe, I already have it. Yes. So, as many have it, Fredericton, Saint-Jean, Edmundston, St. John, Edmundston. So we have this for New Shediac as well. It would be for the entire municipality. So building permits and everything would go to the town of Shediac. Well, it would be the city planning department. There wouldn't be just one person. Thank you. Councillor Ronald Cormier, any questions? Thank you for the answers. I attract your attention to this. I mentioned this specifically. I mentioned this in conjunction with other municipalities. That would mean if we accept the motion, if we mandate perhaps maybe 30 years ago, we had a land use planning commission in Shediac with Capelé and Beaubassin. I'm not saying that is the decision makers, Capacadi, will decide if they want to look into it. That's why I would, the way that I've written it, if we can do it with two, if the partners, it's easier to dance with two, with a partner as a partner than just one person. If they don't want to dance, we have to decide if we want to dance on our own, and maybe financially it's not in the cards. That's why I want to expand the motion to provide flexibility to staff to be innovative and not just look at the motion and say, that's what you've asked me. You've asked me for this, and it can't be done. Maybe it's impossible. I don't know, but I would like them to really cast a wide berth as opposed to limited. I interpret it, maybe look at nearby municipalities, see if they'd be interested in joining a new structure, but it could also include looking at a partnership, a neighboring partner. Can we buy their services at a lesser cost as well? For example, the city of Moncton or the town of Dieppe. We could also include that in our analysis. There might be just before the pandemic, or maybe at the start, the town of Riverview, but we're buying their city planning services from the town of Moncton. They did that for a long time. They left Moncton, and then they went and bought them from Plan 360. They've never been happier, strangely. Now, was there a city planning? The city planners in Moncton are good, but they look out for Moncton. They're looking out for their neighbors. So in terms of what their primary mission is, it's rather normal. They decide, it must be at least 4 years ago, if my memory is correct. It doesn't mean that we can do something different. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, any questions? Thank you, Your Worship. So land use and city planning for the municipal plan, it started, you say? Would this mean that we would have to start from scratch with a new committee? It's studies that are done, research, information. These are consultants who are doing it. That information will be given to the municipality, and after, municipality can trigger things. Plan 360 said that they'd be willing to change their scheduling to be able, once those studies are done, that we'd be ready to act on it for the town of Shediac. They'd be ready to act on it in the town of Shediac. But instead of Plan 360, it might be another body. But remember, it takes 2 years' notice. It could be something perhaps else. Plan 360 could decide if you want to read, let's say you've given us no official notice, you want to leave our services, fine. We'll go on to something else. This is, nothing is decided. Nothing's been discussed. At this point, we're just looking for information more than anything else. Councillor Jonas Cormier, you have a question. Thank you, Your Worship. Could you invite them in the new year to come give us an update, please? Thank you. I've already had a discussion with the executive director of the Regional Service Commission, Roland. I asked him if him and his staff could come do a full presentation of all of the services they offer, which would also include Plan 360. I think it's a good opportunity for the council to see the services being offered. And obviously, we pay an amount to the commission, and to see what the value that we receive and the services. I'd rather see the answers come from them directly rather than going through a third party. It was our intention, as in our discussions with the mayor, to invite them in 2025 before the council. We should get some good information. Councillor Harry McEnroy.
Thanks, Mayor. In 2023, I brought forward the concept of a town planner for the town of Shediac. And I'm wondering if there might be a hybrid kind of situation where we needn't pull everything into creating or recreating or duplicating what Plan 360 is doing. But my focus was more on for planning in the town of Shediac, we need someone who's paying attention to exactly what our needs are, exactly what's going on with our services, where should we be looking to plan for development. I know this comes about with our overall plan, which has been delayed because the resources at 360 weren't able to do it. But if we had a single staff member who was a town planner working in conjunction with 360, they could continue to do the building inspections. They could continue to do a lot of the stuff that they're doing for us now. But my point was, we just need to get a handle on the development that's occurring so quickly in the town that a dedicated town planner would probably go a long way to providing that service for us. So perhaps that can be floated too as a possibility.
Council can look to augment their services as well. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donc, sur ce, tous en faveur, on dira oui.
All those in favor shall say aye.
Non,
Contrary minded, nay.
adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Nous n'avons pas de nomination.
We
pour
don't have
les
any
ce soir.
appointments to committees tonight,
Motion pour
so
adjourner.
simply need a motion to adjourn.
Germain Gallon.
Councillor Germain Galland, motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.